What did we just witness? Spurs taking the lead 1-0, going 2-1 behind, getting themselves back into the game with 6 minutes to go of injury time with a goal from Danjuma, and they bottle it with the final kick of the game. Newcastle drop points. They have the chance to go level on points with them, go ahead of Manchester United, more than keep their top four hopes alive, but put themselves into an advantaged position. Brighton have won just behind them today. You've got Villa closing in, and it's another terrible, terrible performance from this Tottenham team. I don't think even the most diehard Spurs fan could do anything other than just to call that an absolute calamity, because that is what we saw and that is what we witnessed. Brighton today as well, recovering both games. They went a goal down early through a deflected shot of Conor Gallagher. But then, and I think it's pronounced Cisco and Danny Welbeck with a brace, but they dominated Chelsea at the Bridge. They absolutely battered them from pillar to post. They destroyed them. They annihilated them. They pushed it to a point where Frank Lampard should be sacked tonight. Lampard should be out of a job tonight. I don't care that he's interim. Sam Allardyce is a better bet as interim manager than Frank Lampard. Legitimately. Sam Allardyce would do a better job. Alan Kirbysley would do a better job. Roy Hodgson, I know he's gone to Crystal Palace. All those managers would. All them old school managers are all better than Lampard. Bringing him back was a calamity PR stunt, a populist decision. You've got even worse than when Potter was here, which nobody thought was possible. They must get rid of him tonight. There are, I reckon there's 100 professional managers available right now out of work that are better than Frank Lampard. Is Ian Holloway available? He's a better manager than him, legitimately. And Tottenham, listen, I've been speaking about this the last few days. The football gods are real. The football gods exist, and I'm not disrespecting anybody's religion, so if you're offended, do one. Football gods, fate. I don't know what it's called, right? Patrick, Chatty Patty in the group chat today when Newcastle lost. I told you we'll get it. They will drop points. No, you don't make that claim until after your game this weekend. You don't say anything until after your game this weekend. And as soon as he said it, and Jess is coming on in a minute, and she'll tell you because we're eating breakfast. Late breakfast. We slept in today. I turned around and said, he's going to get in trouble here. The football gods are listening. I don't know who taught man about football, but you never count your chickens before they hatch, and you don't banter a rival until after your game that weekend, after your game that week, whenever it may be. Then you do a little bit of banter, and then you keep quiet until your next game. The football gods listen. And when you get too cocksure of yourself, too carried away, start doing little side smirks or whatever it may be, the football gods come back to haunt you. Every single... Look what happened to Neeks the other night in the Sevilla game. The football gods came back to haunt him. Look what happened to me when I said we'd go to Liverpool and beat them. The football gods came to haunt me. And Spurs fans, no wonder they bottle it so much, because if you compare their success versus the rest of the top six, they've got bigger mouths pound for pound. The football gods must be thinking, have you not learned your lesson yet? Be humble for a month and maybe you'll win some more games. Legit. And I'm actually there's something in this. And I'm not overly a superstitious person. But what I saw today from Tottenham was nothing short of cowardice. Cowardice on every single degree. Cowardice. It's Bournemouth. They're in a relegation fight. You're in the top four fight. You're a better team than them. Pound for pound, better player in pretty much every single position. But for some weird, strange, unadulterated reason, they collapsed at home. They bottled it. They couldn't see the game through. They had opportunities, but I honestly watching, and I'm very honest about these things, I didn't even feel they were going to get an equalizer. That for me was a good shot from Danjuma, a little deflection, but I didn't think it was overly deserved. Bournemouth were the better team. They probably didn't have as many shots, but they played their game well. It was another disaster from Tottenham. There's no doubt about it. It was a cowardice, horrible, meek, beige performance from them. And look, the football gods aside, it's just It's not right the season time off yet because we don't know how consistent Man United are going to be with no Rashford and Varane and Lissandro for a few weeks. Lissandro out for the rest of the year. Let's see how Newcastle bounce back from today's defeat. But would I be surprised if by the end of this season, Aston Villa and/or Brighton caught them up and overtook them? No, I wouldn't. If you just look at the league table now, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Brighton there on 49 and Aston Villa there on 50. They're 3 points ahead of Aston Villa. If Brighton win their 2 games in hand, which I hope they don't, by the way, because one of them's against Man. This is where it becomes really weird. Spurs are probably going to want that to be a draw. I'm not going to want United to win. But if Brighton were to beat Man United at the Amex, which a lot of people are predicting they will, they'll go above Tottenham. Villa can catch them with another win and another dropping of points from Tottenham. And I think Tottenham's next 3 games are exceedingly difficult. Exceedingly difficult. I want to go and double check that because I don't want to say things that are not true. But their next 3 games are, and I quote, Newcastle away, Man United at home, Liverpool away. Listen, if they play like they did today, they're losing all 3 matches. They could lose all 3. Very, very conceivably. But by the way, get 6, 7 points out of that. Wow, what a position you're going to be in. What a position they're going to be in. But legitimately, this season could be over in the next 3 games. Newcastle would get that. It's a 6-pointer, essentially. Listen, it's crazy. I want to know what you all are thinking. We're going to bring out Matt. We're going to bring out Man Like Sad. We're going to bring out Jessica Black in a few moments' time. Bear with me a little bit today. I don't know why. I haven't had one of these for a while. I am in the middle of a bit of a panic attack. But I'm going to work through it because I don't believe in taking time off work. And it should see me through. So if you see me suddenly like breathing funny, I'm all right. I just got breathing exercises. I don't know why it came on, to be fair. I've had a bit of a cold and a bit of a temperature, but I'll be all right. If I do drop down dead of a heart attack, remember to hit the like button before you leave, please. That'd be nice. Thank you. Loads of super chats here. First one says, say it with me, Terry. Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. If you don't go, they take their batterings as well, is what Akil says here. At this point, I can't help but feel like FIFA 23 bot managers could have done a better job than Lampard. Obi, the guy's a joke. The guy is a bona fiable joke. We should have held at least 5. Laughable is what Dyke says here. He's a Chelsea fan. Yes, you're right, mate. Thank you, Blessing, but there's nothing to say on there, but thank you. Debbie, sorry, says, it's happened again. It's happened again. And screw you, Chelsea. Brighton and Villa are the real winners. AMT here says, spot on. Chelsea need a manager like Roy Hodgson. Level head. Listen, Roy Hodgson, Alan Pardew, Alan Kirbishley, Big Sam. They're all better managers than Frank Lampard, and they're better than anybody that's managing at Tottenham right now. I'm not saying long term; they are better managers than that. Your boards have let you all down massively, and if any of you are thinking of giving them money in the summer for new shirts, no. Fans have got to start to. For me, I really do feel like fans have got to start to weaponize themselves against their club. If you don't treat us how we want to be treated, we're pulling our money away. Guarantee you, they do the right thing more often. Hit them where it hurts in their back pocket. Chelsea lost, Tottenham lost, City next, praying to the football gods. Don't say it. See, it's another little lesson. Don't say it. Ignore it. It may happen. Predict. That's not how they work. They don't really answer your prayers. They're kind of like a judge thing. That's how I think they work. I'm only guessing here. I've never spoke to the football gods. I'm not that privileged. Mudryk was good. We ain't getting the points for 40. Where are Chelsea in the league, actually? I'm not even 11th still. 30. Oh, my God. Look, with Bournemouth's win today, Crystal Palace only a couple of points behind. Nah, I couldn't. They couldn't end up in 12th, 13th, 14th, could they? That would be mad. KL agent here says, shocker. Sacking Conte, but keeping the staff doesn't change a thing. 1-0 at home and you sit back and absorb pressure. Get the season ended tonight. Mate, it's a genuine embarrassment. Newcastle and Spurs loss. Need United to get 3 points tomorrow. Don't care how, just do it. And listen, Man United are the favourites. We've got to work really hard against Forest to get it done. But it's a great opportunity for Man United because we don't have a league game next week with everybody else dropping points. You've got to capitalise. If we don't now, it'll be a bottle job from us. How many days till Chelsea stopped playing football? Many, many days. I remember Spurs were deemed to finish above Arsenal. I remember Patty gave me a dirty look when I said that I think Arsenal will finish 10 points clear of you. And again, that's why I say to people, I'm not, everything I've said about Tottenham this year has come true. I wasn't being horrible. I was being real. That's all I ever do. And if you're really good next year, watch me praise you. But Terry's normally horrible. I ain't. I'm just real, bro. I don't do conformity. Conformity ain't cool. Having this debate earlier on today. Like if if you watch the same things everybody else watches, if you listen to the same music everybody else listens to, if you make the same jokes and say the same slang, that ain't cool. You're a sheep. Cool people don't do that. So I'm not just gonna all the Spurs fans want me to say the same things they want me to hear, so they watch my channel. No, I'm gonna be real. Because I'm cool. Not because I'm cool. I just don't do conformity, bruv. Do you know who doesn't do conformity? Man like David. Chelsea fan David. That's why he's the coolest guy on campus at uni. He absolutely is. I've heard these things. David's a bit of a player there. No social media. It's called off the grid, I think the kids call it. It's what's cool. Anyway, Brighton, I see him laughing backstage. That's why I said it. Sorry. This here says Brighton were more organised and we were crap. Newcastle are going to spank us and United are going to humiliate us again. Jerome, I love you. Genuinely love you. I do think you're like the first Tottenham fan that ever watched the Football Terrace. I've got so much love, time, and respect for you. I hope the latter of your statement is true, though, bro. I hope it's true. And I know you had a beautiful baby recently. Please, please don't make her be a Spurs fan. Do what my dad did. Be a great father and say no to Spurs. It's got to be said, Todd Boehly is the worst thing to ever happen to Chelsea. How the mighty have fallen is what Ahmed says here. That's absolutely right. The humble sessions this year is long overdue for Chelsea. No Europe means we sell and bring in people to build a consistent, strong 11 for next year. Enrique will be my pick, and next season we move. See, and look, you need to get that managerial appointment right. And if you do get it right, Chelsea can bounce back. You've got money. You've got some really gifted footballers in your team. You need a number 9, and you need a manager to galvanize you. Look at Aston Villa's turnaround this year with a proper manager. That's all you need is a proper manager at Chelsea. Because your board are trying to do the right thing. The difference between Chelsea and Tottenham is their board ain't going to be doing the right thing. Chelsea's board are going to try and get it right. They've just got to bring in the right manager. Dave just got fired because he didn't end the stream. Can't wait to watch it. This is the thing. Every time Expressions has a pop at me on Twitter, Spurs lose. Football gods talk about me wearing Arsenal pajamas. And trust me, if Jessica Black wanted you to wear Arsenal pajamas, every other man would. And that's a compliment, by the way. So I haven't got Arsenal pajamas or a onesie yet, but maybe. It's been great to have my ops in a spliff for the whole season, but this is just getting sad now. I don't even want this mid anymore, bro, is what Twinny's got to say here. And BDA says, only God can save Chelsea, and they think Newcastle can stop us. The league is ours. I'm confident. I'll be here at the end, 100%. See you then, is what BDA has got to say. BDA must be an Arsenal fan by saying it. Maybe City. One at the two. Right, listen, people, we're going to bring the panel out now because there's lots to be said. There's a lot of people backstage. Excuse me. I've had a cold. Don't worry about me. I'm all good. There's a lot of people coming out. Keep the super chats coming. Hit the like button, though, people. We're going 1,000 likes. We should easily hit 3,000 likes while we're live. Get that done. And also, the latest episode of the Top 6 is out now. Scan the QR code on the screen. Go and download that from Spotify and give us a nice 5-star rating. Time for my panel now. Let's do it. I need a button. There it is. Still bringing you out. I've got to change the overlay to this one. Still bringing people out. There's so many people backstage. Oh. There we go. Like, there's lots of you. I need to go to Sava first of all, mate. You were backstage when it was 2-1. I saw you at the equaliser, and then I saw you when Bournemouth scored. What's up with your club, mate? What is up with your club?
It's like I keep trying to tell these Tottenham fans that keep giving it large to other fans of clubs that are having a bad year. We are not a good football team. We have no plan. We have no structure. We have no ethos. this is what we are now. This is what we have created. And results like this, they don't affect me anymore. Like I was when you saw the goal go in, Terry, what was my face like? Was I angry? I was just like
like that.
It's Spurs, right? Even when we equalised, I was like, okay, cool. It's embarrassing being a Tottenham fan. It's well and truly embarrassing. But this is the club we've built. This is the club we've built for many, many years. This is why I do not take the mick out of Chelsea fans, out of Liverpool fans, out of any fans, because it is karma. It comes back to bite you, and we look ridiculous as a fan base. So, yeah, that was that's the worst. This is the worst football I've seen for 30 years. 30 years, I would say. I don't think I've seen a worse Tottenham team for 30 years. It's just individual moments from Kane and Son make it bearable at times, but this is the worst. You probably want to go to someone who's probably more positive about it than me. I mean, this is what Tottenham are. This is what Tottenham are.
I hear you, but to get back to the point where it's 2-2, to then go and lose it at home in that way.
Yeah.
Jords, how you feeling, mate?
It's pathetic. Look, I only came here because people have been saying I'm hiding and so on. And as you can tell, I've barely got a voice because, I'm just not feeling too great. But Spurs is Spurs at the moment. Like Sava said, since Conte's gone, I've sort of had a similar way of thinking as there is no plan. There's no expectation. There's there's no surprise. When these types of things happen, it's just like, it's just another day in day in the life as a Tottenham fan. When we went 2-2, it's not. I didn't really get happy. I don't think any Tottenham fans should be happy equalising against Bournemouth, who are battling relegation at home. We should never be in that position in the first place. It's absolutely pathetic. I don't really know where to go from here. I don't know what Tottenham's going to go from here. The season's pretty much a throwaway at this point, and it has been for the past couple of weeks. I don't really feel like there is a point aiming for top four when we don't even know what's going to happen next season. We're not going to go win the Champions League. So why are we going in for top four? We have no plan going clear forward. We need to start sorting out the managerial situation, and that should be our main focus till the end of the season. Sort that out. Start bleeding through some of the young players or players that are actually going to be here next season rather than playing the likes of Davinson Sanchez. Davinson fucking Sanchez. Like, it is an absolute joke. This guy came on the pitch, subbed on and subbed off within 20 minutes. He came on, gave away 2 goals, and got subbed straight back off. All Tottenham fans could see this. We've seen this for months. He hasn't played for months because he does this every time. It's typical Davinson Sanchez, typical Spurs. Stellini was trying so hard to play a free at the back against Bournemouth. It's an absolute joke. We could have played with 10 men and I would have been more happy than bringing Sanchez on. So we do it to ourselves. We got no one else to blame. And it's literally, we kill ourselves. It's not Bournemouth being great. It's just Tottenham being Tottenham. Nothing to expect no more.
I hear you on that. I want to ask Jess a question. Tottenham fans not wanting top 4 anymore. Do you understand where they're coming from with this?
Yeah, I kind of do. I get the aspect of not wanting top 4. It doesn't matter. The cycle just continues and, all that kind of stuff. But I think out of most of the teams that are competing for top 4, I think Tottenham need it the most. I think Newcastle will be fine without it. Manchester United will be fine without it because they have the financial backing, and Tottenham need that to look like a big club, in my opinion. So you still need it and you should get it. You're not in any other competitions. Like, you have to go for it. And but it just feels like everything is a bit of a mess right now. And I mean, I get it, but you need it. And so hopefully your team, from your perspective, I don't know what Tottenham looks like with Newcastle being backed with money. Aston Villa are also backed with money. I don't know if you guys know that, but they have money as well. Manchester United, Liverpool will not be this bad. Chelsea will not be this bad. Like, you guys being outside of the top 4, just, you can't, so short term, they'll probably feel okay, but long term, you need it. I don't know.
I get that. I mean, in terms of the game, I know you were watching the games today. What did you make of their performance? Was it just, what do you think led to this poor defeat?
They're just Tottenham, like, I don't know, like, from the beginning of the season, when we all spoke about this, we said it from the beginning, like, it was never good from the beginning. You know, early on in the season when they were having their best start to the season, we, like a lot of us, not just Arsenal fans, but a lot of us were saying, but it doesn't look sustainable, not quite sure. It still looks like you guys are playing on the margins. Everything has to go perfect or else, you know, it's not going to work out. And that's pretty much all that's happened. You know, Son went off of the boil. You don't have everything behind Son and Kane for me is pretty average. You know, so when the margins didn't go your direction, now all of a sudden you're not winning the games. And then obviously the mentality, the manager just shit on everybody. I mean, it's bad news. So I think, you know, the football is exactly what Tottenham football has been like for the last couple of maybe seasons, where when the margins don't go your way, you know, and every game for Tottenham is fine margins. And you can't play like that at the top level, I don't think, you know, so it's typical, but you guys know this. You know, and it's not just rivals talking smack because we don't like you. I think people were telling the truth. You know, you can't play like that, you know, defensively, not dominating other teams at home, relying on 2 players to be world class every game in order to get over the line. Like, that's just not how top teams play, you know? So it's just typical. It's not really surprising.
No, I totally get that. Alan, what you saying there, bro? So you were about to jump in.
Yeah, so people obviously, like Jords said, Davinson Sanchez, and I completely agree, he's not good enough for Spurs, but we've got to be honest about the whole entire performance today. Pedro Porro, as a defender, was absolutely disgraceful. He kept trying to take too many people on, getting caught and causing our own problems. You had Romero and Dyer, who were all at sea at times as well. You had midfield. Højbjerg, I didn't realise he was on the pitch until his header in the 75th minute. Kane, sometimes I didn't realise he was on the pitch until his header from the Porro cross. Højbjerg, Skip as well, was insufficient. Perisic good going forward, but also shady at the back, causing our own problems. When we're getting rid of a manager and we're keeping his successor who's going to play exactly the same way, it was pretty much Tottenham today as it was the entirety of the season. At times looking okay, but more often than not lackluster, no drive. The players just seem all at sea, and it's just one of them things where this season shouldn't be a write-off for Spurs. It should be the point where we're demanding trophies. We can't go, oh, it's a write-off, we'll go again next season. It shouldn't be that. We should be saying we deserve more as a fan base. We should be winning trophies. We should be competing at our highest level. And it just doesn't happen year in, year out. And for most Spurs fans, it's like, okay, we'll go next season. We're just happy to be there. I'm sick to death of the same thing. And then people coming out and blaming the normal people that get blamed. Everyone gets blamed. But for some reason, we always nitpick specific names. Sanchez, is not good enough for this club, but there's a load of other people there, and it's just one of them things. I just don't understand how certain players can continue to play poorly and not show up and just get people bypassed because we'll go again next season. No, I'm sick to death of it. Having to literally, when we took off, I can't remember who it was, we took off Sanchez and brought in the extra player in midfield. We forced Bournemouth on the back foot. We forced them to defend more, and that's where we had more success. But literally what our backline does all season, what happened again, we got the goal back and then we switch off, absolutely stupid defending at the back, and we concede, and we basically do what we've done all season, is be Spursy. Games like this that we should have won, we've lost. Games that we should have got a draw in, we've lost, because we do the same thing, and we have such a weak mentality as a team, as the boards, the manager, the owner, like the players, everything else, such a weak mentality across the board. And then Spurs fans sit here and go, okay, yeah, we'll go again next season. Like, it should be that we be like, this is not good enough. We need to absolutely eradicate this from our club. Otherwise, like Jess said, you've got Newcastle, Villa, literally all these clubs catching up. Spurs are going to be a mid-table team at best because we don't back managers to the extent that other teams do. If we don't get this right in the summer, we should be sorting out the manager now. We should have had the manager sorted as soon as Conte went. We should have had that manager in place. This is who we're bringing in. We've done it very quick with Jose Mourinho after Pochettino, and we've done very quick with Conte after Nuno. So we can do it. This whole thing of, oh yeah, we'll go in the summer and we'll give like 10 weeks. No, that manager should have been brought in. No, you've made the thing that Conte's going. You should have brought the manager in. It's literally, the thing is, if we don't get it right this summer, Spurs are finished as a top 10 team, in my opinion, if we do not get it right with the manager and players to bring in for their system. We're done as a top 10 team because you've got a load of dross in there that aren't pulling their weight, that need to go. And literally, if you get a manager in, it's just going to be a yes man and not want crave players. You're just going to cause yourself more problems going on. This football club at the moment is an absolute joke.
Jacob, do you agree? Could you become just a top 10 team?
Why not? Anything's possible at this point. I mean, before the match, you got news coming out that we're working real hard to get Eric Dyer a new contract, and that's just part of the problems here at Tottenham, honestly, because it just never stops. Why do we reward? I mean, I agree with most of what Alan was saying. The only part I would disagree with, I didn't think Son actually had a bad game. 30 some odd touches.
I didn't say Son.
I thought you led with that. I thought you led with that. That's my mistake. So then I do agree with pretty much everything you said, that we just have a weak mentality. I mean, you see it. We bring on a guy who's been here, who actually at the time when we signed Davinson Sanchez from Ajax, he was our record signing. And he comes on, and, you know, I don't want to blame individuals because it is a team game, but individually, I'm going to blame Davinson Sanchez a little bit, because getting turned around like that, I'm sorry, no offense to the front three of Bournemouth there, but you play for Tottenham Hotspur. You can't be getting turned around like that. That was embarrassing. It was actually really sad to watch. And then him come off the pitch like that, the fans booing him. I mean, this guy, you come in as a sub. If you get subbed off as a sub, clearly there's a big problem going on. But this is just a symptom of a much larger issue here at the club, in my opinion. So to answer your question, Terry, if we can become a top 10 team, yeah, why not? The rest of the league's looking pretty good. I mean, Bournemouth with this win, they wanted it more. And I was on here last week laughing at the fact that we got away with the great train robbery last week versus Brighton. And I was kind of hoping I could come on here this week and laugh about the same thing again, because, but, you know, it's just a story of Tottenham, kind of like Jess said earlier. It's just kind of what we do. It's the mindset here. You allow players like Eric Dyer to fester in your club long enough, there's going to be other players with that same weak loser mentality like Eric Dyer. And I could, you know, people could say he had a decent game, whatever. He's a loser, and he's in the back line commanding our team. That guy's a loser. He needs to get gone. He's been a problem for 10 years. He's going to get an extension, and that actually, quite frankly, pisses me off worse than the loss today, because looking forward, where do we go from here? I don't really know. And I kind of said last week, I just want to see a fun game. And this was more of a William Shakespearean tragedy in the sense of fun. It wasn't really a great thing to witness. Yes, I also... I agree earlier with Jordan what he said. We shouldn't be celebrating going up to or tying the game at 2-2. We should not be celebrating in that moment. I was celebrating because I'm just that kind of fan. I get sucked in 24 hours before kickoff. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'm thinking the best of my team because I'm just an optimistic person like that. You hand me a glass, I'm going to tell you it's half full even when it ain't. And so that's kind of my mentality. I haven't been broken and beaten yet, much like some of the older fans in this fan base. But you know what? I think we all feel the same after a match like that. This is a game you shouldn't be pulling to try and draw or try to get the go-ahead goal in stoppage time. We're all celebrating. Okay, we got 6 minutes of stoppage time. What were we doing the other 90 minutes? That's my problem, and it's just like I said, a symptom of a larger problem here at the club.
Mate, I totally agree with you. By the way, City are 1-0 up, and I think they're about to get a penalty. They should have had a second before that as well. So that game's effectively over before it's even begun, 11 minutes in. This super chat here says, in my opinion, there's no top 6 anymore, and I hope you cover other clubs soon, Terry. Well, there is always a top 6. I'll cover as many teams as I can. I don't know if you think I'm superhuman. Start watching another 2 or 3 more teams, but I will do my best, my friend. We will try. I was actually talking to Jess about redefining the concept of our top 6 stuff, maybe more of a challenge to be in the top 6 as opposed, so there are more teams involved, just so we can have more people around. But Ireland scores, by the way. That's 2-0 to City. We will come back to Tottenham in a moment. I want to do these super chats here. It says sorry, I've already done that one. This question for you: if Arsenal end up second but 16 to 17 points above third, is it a bad season? No, it's a trophyless season, but not a bad season, because Arsenal are going to go nowhere, and next year they'll be challenging. As an example. Is it like a sensational season? No, because there's no trophy at the end of it.
It's not sensational at all. But
it's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's just a season where you failed to do what you were supposed to do, but you weren't catastrophically bad. Like a lot of teams have seasons like this. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And this super chat says, if I was Messi, I would tell McAllister, congratulations, and I told you so. The Spurs bottle it. Also, way to go, Emmy and Aston Villa. Yeah, they were very good today. Aston Villa. They look brilliant. at this moment in time. Who didn't look brilliant today, and I want to touch on them as well today. David, Chelsea 1-0 up against Brighton, but I don't know if I've ever seen a team at Stamford Bridge dominate you like that.
It was so bad. It was so bad. They had like 70% of the ball. They're just passing it around. I was just watching like, this is peak. I can't, like, I wasn't expecting much. But like, for Brighton to dominate the ball like that against us is, whew, that's rough. But you know what? When Frank Lampard's in charge and you've got people saying this is good for the club and blah, 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 and they're actually excited about the football that they were going to see, yeah, this is what they deserve. I wasn't excited about the football. I was just like, well, at least the fans won't boo him at Stamford Bridge. Oh, I might be wrong about that because we've now lost 3 in a row. And I know people that might start doing that. And if they start booing Frank, yeah, this club might really be in the toilet. It might be because them man were so like in love with Frank when he was there the first time. So I thought there was no way, no matter what happened. But the football is awful. It's tough to watch. This is the first game I watched in 2 weeks. And yeah, I hope that I have more busy Saturdays and Sundays because I don't want to watch this again.
Don, I mean, I assume you concur. I mean, it's 3 games with Lampard. He was meant to galvanise you, make you play better football, and you're getting worse.
Yeah. I said from the beginning, I said to all rivals that kept asking me, why have you guys brought in Frank? And the first thing I said is he's been brought in purely for vibes, right? Because it's been so toxic, especially when you go to the games and you can feel how negative it's been with Potter there. So they had to make a change. But on the pitch, what I did say is you're not going to see a difference at all because Graham Potter is a better coach than Frank Lampard. And he was doing nothing when he was here. First game against Wolves, he goes to a back 4. We've been horrendous all season in the back 4. He goes to a back 5. We improve a little bit against Madrid for 15 minutes. But again, the whole team's clueless. He goes back to a back 4 again today. He plays Chalobah out of position, who's been... We haven't really seen Chalobah this half of the season, to be fair. He got absolutely just embarrassed by Mitoma. I know Mitoma is one of the best dribblers in the league, but he got embarrassed. You had Fofana, had another poor game. Badiashile, you can see that the rust is there because he hasn't been playing much again. We're just not good in a back 4, and we're not going to be good in a back 4 until we actually sort out a CDM or get a 6 that can hold that position and be a bit of an anchor. Because Zakaria was meant to play that role today, and he was just a hologram, Terry. Like, he was doing nothing, offering nothing on the pitch. Enzo was just getting blitzed by Caicedo any chance that he got. It reminded me a bit of when Herrera done a job against Hazard that game when we played you guys, where he was just man-marking him the whole game. Caicedo wasn't letting Enzo breathe. And he had to come off just because we wasn't going to get a result. So I think 2-1 is a shit result. I didn't expect anything different, but at least it's not worse because it could have been worse. As soon as I saw Welbeck come on, I said, yeah, it's peak. He's going to score against us again. He done the same thing a couple of seasons ago. Last minute, scored a header, and he done the same thing again today. So look, it's peak, and I'm not going to blame Kepa because no keeper's saving that. But again, how many more long shots is he going to concede? He gets violated week after week. We just look so disjointed, man. There's no coaching. You can see it. It's so clear that these guys have no idea what they're doing. Absolutely no idea. The only bright spark I would say today was Mudryk. He actually looked quite good on the ball. He got the assist for the goal that we scored. It was quite lucky, to be fair. But apart from that, there was nothing in the game. It was just the same old. I'm just repeating myself, Terry. Like, I'm not expecting anything different because Frank Lampard isn't a good manager. He's not a good coach, but he's not bringing vibes like they said he would. So it is what it is, man. I've checked out. I'm done.
You know, the vibes aren't there because he got sacked because he killed the vibe. It's the weirdest notion in the world that he was going to come back and proper Chelsea like him. But who listens to proper Chelsea? No one listens to those. Oh yeah, anyone who walks around with their farts smelling like jelly deals, no one's going to listen to those opinions. Like,
it was so delusional. Like, people, grown men on Twitter, are starting conversations about, oh, if Frank does number 3, does he deserve to stay? And I was like, have you not learned anything from Man United when they had Oli winning from vibes and what he'd done after that and set them back so many years, so many months? It's madness. Like, I just look at it today and there's just nothing going on. So. I predicted we'd lose today, to be honest.
I hear that. How about yourself, Matt? I mean, your guy Kepa had made some brilliant saves, but just another devastating day to be a Chelsea fan.
I mean, first on Kepa, it comes down to he ain't saving that. There's no way no one's saving that. But it comes down to also if you know your keeper can't save long shots, you don't give so much space to midfielders. But that same problem, and it just comes down to a whole collective. And it's really embarrassing to see these Chelsea fans accepting defeats like this. Like I'm up here at 3 a.m. somehow still watching this game. I don't know why I'm here. I said I'm not going to watch it, but then I somehow come up and watch it. And it's embarrassment to those players on the pitch. They're earning 70, 80 grand a week, and they're there fucking with their heads down, just waiting to go home and make the next TikTok dance like Mason Mount is. Like, and all these players like that, they're embarrassing. Chalobah's here, right? First game is 6-7 games. And it's just a different lineup every game. As I said, I mentioned Chalobah. First game he's played in about 7 or 8 games consistently. Like, with just no tactics, there's no lineups, there's no nothing. Everyone's just there. And you could see at the 60th minute, I think someone from the Leicester went down. And I see Kepa telling everyone what to do for lineups. Like, when your players are starting to tell you what to do for tactics, that is just shambolic. It's honestly embarrassing. And this Chelsea team is an absolute embarrassment. You've got Todd Bowie now apparently going to the dressing room. I wonder what he's going to say now, because he's the one who started all this absolute mess. Todd Bowie is an absolute disgrace. Everyone's blaming Lampard. I said Lampard will not fix this. I said Lampard will make us worse, and I got absolutely deluded from it. I got you're clueless, you're this, you're that. Terry, you said before who believes he's proper Chelsea fans, and I'll tell you who believes proper Chelsea fans. Todd Bowie, because this guy believes everything that they want. And look what they want a Mudryk, they got Mudryk. They want a Frank Lampard, they got Frank Lampard. They only got Frank Lampard to make the fans clap at halftime. I used to sit here in 2013, 2014. I used to wake up and watch the best 10 goals of the month, right? Now we can't even score 1 goal a month to even make that compilation. It's an absolute embarrassment. I can't wait for a manager to come in.
Sorry to interject. David, didn't you tell us a stat earlier that Mudryk is the highest goal assister at Chelsea this season?
Yeah.
2 assists.
When you talk about making an impact at a club, he's made an impact, because to get 2 assists, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, you don't say 2 assists. You don't say 2 assists. What you say is no player at Chelsea has more assists this season than Mudryk. You've got to play
That's
the
true.
semantic.
I should have done that.
Yeah,
I'm using that.
You know how
because
Harry, I'm
genuinely this in that game, he was the only person who I looked at and went, "Oh, there's a player there." The only one. All the rest of them just useless. Couldn't do anything.
Did anyone else see Enzo at left back? I saw Enzo at left back. I see Zachariah at right wing, except for the midfield. And it comes down to these absolute tactics for shocking. Yeah, and there's a big hole. And I thought Zachariah was stepped out. I said last week on Zachariah play, but I'm taking back everything I said there. That was a disgrace for me, because Zachariah showed today was an absolute hole in the middle of the compartment again. The midfield was wide open. I see Enzo left back. I see Chilwell left wing, and I'm like, it's everywhere. It's all over the place. And this Lampard shit with tactics, it's nowhere to be seen. It's nowhere to be seen.
Where
It's
are the
absolutely
triangles,
embarrassing.
man?
Where's the hexagon?
No.
Where's the hexagon?
I think we called them the inverted hexagon formation.
It's an octagon or something like that he had. It was some octagon stupid formation, man.
Jess, I want to ask you a question as a rival. Someone's touching their microphone a bit. If you could just try and refrain from that or mute your mic, that would be amazing for me. It makes a lot of noise in the background. Thank you. Do you think Chelsea can turn this? It's just about bringing in the right manager, or are we seeing the destruction of Chelsea before our very eyes?
I don't think anything is ever as simple as just bringing in the right manager. I think everything kind of has to be, if Chelsea want to get back to where they feel like they should be, winning titles, Champions League, all that kind of stuff, I think you have to do more than just have a good manager. Like, everything needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet. And earlier on, when we were talking about Bowley, the whole excitement around Todd Bowley was that he talked a good game and he would spend a lot of money, but almost everybody's ownership spends a lot of money. So it's definitely more than that. And Chelsea have known over the years that spending money is not the only thing. Yes, you guys have been successful, but in more recent times, it's really been Manchester City doing the business, So I think, at least domestically. So I think from a Chelsea perspective, it's more than the manager. Bowley has to get every single, appointment correct. Everything in the back room has to be right. And it's not just as easy as going to Brighton and taking everybody that they have, implementing it and say, now do it here. And I think his lack of, experience in English football is what makes me think that, okay, he thinks he knows everything. He lacks experience. He's arrogant. He's made a couple of mistakes already. Is this Chelsea going in the right direction and will eventually get it right because they're going to spend money? Or are you going into your Glazer era? Because at this point, for me, it looks like it could go either way. Where in the beginning we said, of course they'll get it right. It's Chelsea. I'm not sure it's 100% like that's going to happen. And so, yeah, the manager is important, but if the manager has Bowley behind him, trying to control who he puts out there on the pitch, is buying players that don't fit his system, is willing to sack him without actually, backing what because they said that they were in with Potter to the long, for the long haul, and they sacked him. So you can't trust anything that they say. So yeah, they can bring in a great manager, but we've all had good managers before that didn't work out because everything behind the scenes wasn't working. So yeah, you can bring in Luis Enrique, but Bowley has to get it right.
I totally agree with that. And I mean, we look at today's game in isolation, and what AMT said here is right. Before the winning goal, 24 shots to 4 in Brighton's favour at home. I don't just believe that's because Lampard's the manager or Potter's the manager. It's a systematic breakdown of the culture, the mentality, and the mentality of the football club. And we're talking about Spurs here as well. I want to bring Spurs into this conversation because I think we can review the game. But there's no point reviewing Chelsea games because, as we've said in the last 3 match reactions, it's exactly the same stuff being said. But I want to throw this out to, is it Elias? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, correct.
With Newcastle on the rise, Villa on the rise with money, Man United's takeover looking like it's coming, Arsenal backfiring, is there a chance that Chelsea and Spurs, or one of the two, falls completely away from top European football conversations? Could it be the end of them as a top 6 / big 6 club?
If Enoch and Levy stays, then very likely. The way they've turned the football structure, the way they've turned this model, the way they are playing football, and the way they interfere with the things, it's very likely that yes, Spurs can end up as a bottom or a mid-table team, because there's no structure for football in the club. Like you just see a management or an ownership who is just trying to make money. And maybe they're good at making money to a certain extent, but in terms of football, they have no clear philosophy, and I think we have been clearly repeating that. And I agree with the Arsenal fan who just now actually brought it up, that if you can actually bring in any manager, as long as the board or the ownership is not backing them, they are not trying to understand them, they are not trying to give them the liberty to make those decisions, to make those changes on the field and in the field. If they have a bigger say in the footballing decisions of the matter, you can never succeed, or you can never see a rise in your club. You will always be that team who actually just try to make money. And this is another problem, I think, in the club as well. Like I was trying to address it earlier in the chat as well, that the back four and all that is always the manager problem. Managers don't try things. Managers can try things. Trial and error is not always a solution in football. Trial and error, yes, it works sometimes. You do try things off the pitch. You can try things maybe as subs. You can try things in the middle of the game, but you should always send in your best starting 11. I think the rival fans who you all watch football enough, I think you can understand that always you try to send in your best formation and your best team to start with. But in the middle of the games, you can make certain changes that, yes, can make a big difference. But our fan base has this issue that we always tend to throw managers under the bus when we start seeing a consistent system or a consistent formation. We try to say that, okay, it's always the manager's fault. No matter who you bring in, I mean, this is another thing, Alan, I kind of disagree with you there. No, at this point of season, I don't think any manager would want to come into our club, like what you were saying. Because where we are at this point, every manager knows what they are getting themselves into. They are getting themselves into a big issue that is there's not just the issue of formation or tactics. It's an issue of the coordination between the management and the board. And until that issue gets solved, this club can go nowhere.
Mate, I agree where you're coming from there. Sorry, someone's about to say something.
I was just gonna say, on what you said there, Terry, about the falling out of top 10. I don't think we'd fall out of the top 10, and I do think that's absolute rubbish. As bad as Tottenham are, and as bad as I think we can be without a plan, Tottenham are still going to be good enough to stay in the top 10 with the personnel that we have. And with, like you said, you mentioned the likes of Villa, Newcastle, and all these other teams. The one thing Tottenham do have, our board don't back the club, but we do have the money to back the club if need be, and if the board did see us falling out of the European places in which they need the European football to generate the money that they want to take out of the club, they will continue to keep us just in reach. And that is the thing with Tottenham, is we won't go back too bad to where we're going to be in Chelsea's position when we're finishing 11th or 12th, but we're not going to be going too good, and we're not going to be pushing on to the title. and that's the problem. Is we will stay minimally in between this 7th and 4th spots and just keep bouncing around there at this moment in time, and we aren't going to be falling out of the top 10 anytime soon. I don't think that should be a worry.
I disagree here. The reason being is that, let's just say, if our board and our management consistently they target that mid-table spots, or consistently their target is just the top 4, but now you're seeing the competition getting tougher. There are other teams who are getting richer, like for the likes of Newcastle, and they are developing. They have a good structure, like let's just say Brighton, for instance. They are doing better in a lot of aspects. If they are aiming for a higher thing, if they are aiming for, let's say they are aiming for second or third, or they want to challenge for the title, and we still carry that same mentality where we are just going for the top 4 spot, we are gonna automatically fall behind. Until we change that mentality of the top 4, we cannot get ahead of these players, because looks like that these teams are gonna actually demand more in years to come, and the competition is actually gonna get tough.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Elias, but Tottenham have been a consistent European club for the past 15, 16 years, for the exact reason that I've said, is that we will do enough to stay a European club no matter what, and they will not allow us to fall below that. But we won't do enough to push on to be a title contending club. So that's the difference.
The one thing...
Go ahead. So obviously, Elias basically said, why would a manager come in now to this mess? So basically, a manager would come in, you'd get a manager in to assess the squad going into the summer transfer window. You know who you can count on, who you like the look of, your formation, would they fit? You then identify summer targets and you move forward from there. You bring them in the summer, they've got to then work with that, work with new board. Probably not going to be in European football the way we're going. Then obviously Harry Kane's going to walk, Son may go, as well as the 7-8 players that you need to get out of the club as well. So it's even more of a mess if you delay it. At least you get the person in now to see what they've got to work with and start making plans and start. If we are reactive, we're only going to fall backwards. And in regards to what Jords said about not falling out of top 10 club, the way Spurs are looking now, we've got a sort out manager, and we've got to sort out a whole lot of mess at the thing with a board, like you're saying, not back. Spurs, when Ian Canak came in, the whole thing of, oh, we're a self-sustaining model, and Spurs fans lapped it up. Yeah, we're a self-sustaining model. We don't have to go out and spend big like that. But football's moved on mad since we decided that we're a self-sustaining club. Now, to win stuff, you have to spend. The only person, and they still spend, but the team that done it without really was Leicester. But that doesn't come around very often.
It's not sustainable. Leicester weren't sustainable. Look where they are now. You have to.
Is it Alex? Sorry, I've got a question about your scouting. Who's a scout? Alan. Sorry. Have you guys got scouts, or is it Levy that does your recruitment? Because what was?
Well, Paratici's meant to be the guy.
That's a good question.
Picks a hand, but he can't do anything now because he's suspended throughout the entire of Europe, or I think even everything to do with
global.
There's an appeal going there, so he can't do his job. We bought the guy in. I can't remember his name. Is it Scott or something like that? The guy
Scottman.
Scottman or something.
Scottman.
No, the Australian guy.
Scottman. He's our new CEO of football, but he's not a scout.
Yeah,
He'll just be taking control.
But apparently, you have to report to him should it happen. It's just literally people being put in place, but nothing gets done at Spurs. Literally, we were so blinded by the success under Poch, but we got there through some of the squad already being there. Poch coming in with a team that works for him. His philosophy, the team was the way he wanted the team to play with the young players. They were already there, and it worked well. Since then, we've gone backwards both times.
I agree. I don't want to go too far off subject around the original question around could Chelsea or Tottenham fall away from being a permanent member of the top 6. Don, do you think Chelsea could? I'll come to you in a second, Jess. Don, do you think? Yeah. Do you think Chelsea can fall away from this?
If we're not careful, we can 100%, because money doesn't solve everything when it comes to football. How it's been played these days. Look at Brighton. Their scouting network and how they just bopped us all over the pitch today. All the players know what their role is. They've got a good manager who's come in and fitting into that system quite well. But when it comes to us, I think I'll only start getting worried if I'm not seeing a lot of changes next season that need to be made in the summer. Starting off with trimming the squad, bringing in a new manager. But Terry, if these changes don't happen in the summer, and I'm not seeing any changes during the season, then we'll be having a complete conversation. But for now, I'm not panicking because I've completely checked out, and there's a lot of work to be done anyway. So, yeah, I think they've had a few hiccups. They've made a few mistakes in hiring Potter. The intentions are there. The good intentions are there. He is very ambitious, but again, quite naive. A lot of the decisions that he made, like Jess, you made a few good points earlier when you sort of mentioned how he's sort of come into something that is alien to him. But again, we've got a new recruitment team now who hopefully he should be listening to and just opening his wallet to, like I said yesterday, Terry. So for me, long term, I'm not at that stage yet. I'll have to see how next season goes and all the changes that happen as of next season. But for now, it's not looking good, man. It's looking bleak as it is. But I think there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel because there's a lot of changes that are going to happen in the summer.
The thing about like this is the issue that I had with Arsenal for a long time that really scared me, because you could have, like, a couple of years ago you kind of saw it, but now like it's even more prevalent with what we're seeing on the pitch, that because of the money coming into the Premier League, there are so many teams that have money now that didn't have it before, and they have access to the same things that our teams do. And you see the likes of like Brentford, Brighton, these guys are recruiting to a very high level, to the point where sometimes I look at who Arsenal are linked with as the same as them. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. And so the only real advantage that the bigger teams have are the fact that you win trophies, you have the credibility, the legacy, all that kind of stuff. And you're ultimately a step up from Villa, from Brighton, from those teams. Aston, you're the step up so that you can go to the next level. When the gap closes and you're no longer looked at as a step up for those types of players, you're fucked. And that's why I kind of think about like Tottenham, because I would think about that from an Arsenal perspective. There was a small period of time where Arsenal wasn't good enough to get like the top players, but even the young up and coming players didn't want to come to Arsenal because they were like, well, why not just go to blah, blah, blah. And that's my thing with Tottenham is I'm like, you need top four, because if you don't have it, I don't see how the players going to Aston Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Brentford see you as a step up from them. And you're also not guaranteed to win anything at Tottenham, so you're not sitting at the same table as Man United, Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool. That's the problem, is that gap is really closing. So, and that's why I'm happy Arsenal really tried to, like, we have to take advantage of this little period, because it's easy to slip. And that's how you become like 8th, 9th, 10th. That gap is closing.
The thing is, Terry, they've made just one last thing. They've made mistakes, but they can definitely rectify a lot of the mistakes that they've made, and they'll need to do it quick. Because I've actually DM'd you a tweet, Terry, today. Like, a lot of the fan base was shouting at Todd Bowley in the ground. I don't know what was said to him, but it doesn't look like it was a pleasant conversation. So
sure, it's pleasant language, yeah. Sure,
I don't think it was a pleasant conversation, but they can definitely rectify a lot of the mistakes that they've made, and they definitely need to redeem themselves. I'm sure if we look back at the ownership that came into City at the beginning, I'm sure they probably made a few mistakes and had a few hiccups, and look where they are now. So I'm not going to panic. It's a year into the ownership. They can definitely redeem themselves. So
I was going to say the one thing about Chelsea that's quite encouraging is the recruitment of the best, well, in theory, what seems to be the best young talent in the world. In terms of, we are signing quite a lot of 17, 18-year-olds that in theory are quite high rated, and in a couple of years will be very good players, or they're already in the first team players like Enzo, who give it 2 or 3 years. Enzo's already a quality football player, but in 2 or 3 years, he's going to be one of the world's best. So the recruitment idea and the thinking is there. And as I've said, if you leave out Todd's summer madness and you focus on December, you can see that there is a transfer strategy in place. However, they now need to find a manager who can line up with that and can get players to actually work. And then they actually need to have a proper, like, thought out process behind the scenes that allows those players to grow to be the players who they're meant to be. That's what the club's currently missing. Because right now I just feel like it's very, we've just got to patch up as many holes as
I don't actually, although the league table doesn't look like it, I think Chelsea are in a better position than Spurs are. I think Spurs are the ones at real risk because of, listen, Spurs have got a good history a long time ago, but I looked at Villa's, I've never really looked at Villa's history. Villa have, I think, 1 less FA Cup, 5 more league titles in the Champions League. In terms of heritage, Villa are a bigger football club than Tottenham. So Tottenham don't have any modern day history. They have got a beautiful stadium, but I'm being honest with you. Players don't I don't think players walk in and go, yeah, I want to play here because of the stadium, if there's no chance of lifting trophies and doing that. I want to say very quickly as well, Haaland's now on 32 goals this season, 1 more and he breaks Mo Salah's record. I want to do it today because my prediction that I got laughed at in the preview show at the beginning of the season, I said by game week 30, he breaks Mo Salah's record. If he does it to like, I really should have put a bet on it because I reckon I'd have got really good odds. But the fact that that prediction could actually come true is crazy. I said game week 30 will break the record. I got called all types of nonsense by Liverpool fans. I'm not going to call any of them out today because it's Hillsborough anniversary, so I'm going to be very respectful for them. But I got them bookmarked, guys. Those bookmarks are coming out tomorrow. You're getting cooked for doubting the Messiah of football. I'm joking. I don't think of myself in that way. It's a joke. Sarcasm. Do you know what I mean? Being
Do
smug.
you know what's scary? Terry, do you know what's scary for Chelsea fans this season, right? Do you know that usually I would banter Spurs for losing 3-2 to Bournemouth, but that's actually a bad result for Chelsea. They're only 6 points behind us.
That's right.
Only 6 Crystal Palace.
Exactly.
2 weeks ago, Crystal Palace were 12 points behind us, and they're only 3 points behind us now. That's how. Remember, this is how vibes. This is how. If you want vibes, this was the vibiest game for as a Chelsea fan right here. Okay, and I think this scoreline flattered Chelsea. It totally flattered Chelsea. We should be near -10 goal difference after this game. It's lucky that we're not. And the fact that Gallagher is maybe our most impressive player today should really deep it.
He was
Gallagher's the better player, but the best player afterwards, and that's how much we are down.
No, he wasn't. He was woeful.
I saw a midfield.
Terrible.
I saw a midfield 3 that had Mount and Gallagher in it by the end of the game. That's how bad.
You know what's really funny
today.
as well? Like your goal made me laugh because they were very much on the the front from the beginning.
Totally.
And it was a good little inside ball from Mihailo Mudryk, but like the shot, I don't even know if your goal counted as a shot on target because
that was going. I don't know where that shot was going, but it wasn't going to the goal.
It probably should have been an own goal. The size of the deflection was Harry Maguire-esque. But yeah, it was a mad day today. As you say, I think 2-1 flattered you hugely, and I thought Brighton would win, but I thought you'd have a bit more about you, and that's the issue with your managerial appointment. I've said at the top of the video, he should be sacked tonight, and even if you stay with an interim, I genuinely believe this. Big Sam comes in, you start winning some football matches again because he would galvanize the people. Like your players aren't playing. He'd come in there. He would grab.
That's the whole point, yeah.
But Lampard ain't that guy. Big Sam would come in and he'd literally grab Mason Mount. I think literally by his ball bag, squeeze them, and say, "If you moan or do a TikTok."
Terry, can you remember? You and I obviously watch more. We're a little bit older, but can you remember a manager in the Premier League being sacked from getting a team in a relegation zone, going to another team that same season and getting them close to a relegation fight? Because that's what Lampard's doing, right? That's a unique talent. Lampard's got unique talent that even under Potter this season, every game under Lampard, it's only been 3. We've got worse from every game.
You know what's crazy? It's like Crystal Palace sacking Patrick Vieira and bringing back as an interim De Boer. That's the equivalence. It makes no sense. It would never, ever happen.
You know what's crazy though? Some Chelsea fans were saying, we can help Frank bring his reputation up a little bit because he got sacked and there wasn't a single club that was after him at all. This has put a nail in the coffin and said you need to go to the Championship. Do what Wayne Rooney's doing. Just graft a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Make your way up.
Why do Chelsea fans care so much about? I mean,
I don't.
He's a legend of the club,
care about this.
but who cares? Like, if Patrick Vieira gets sacked from every game, like every job that he can, I don't care.
It's madness. It's madness.
I don't care. Like, why do you care?
Yeah, I know. But it's the club, so it's all fine.
David don't care. David, you don't care, do you?
I don't care. Honestly, he's so useless. He's so bad.
He makes interim managers look bad. He's the worst interim manager ever.
I'm not being funny. Frank Lampard makes PE teachers look bad. Like
he makes Ollie look like a Champions League winning manager. He makes Ollie look like that.
Lampard and Steven Gerrard are 2 examples of managers that weren't. And I know Gerrard did some good bits in
Rangers,
Scotland, but Scotland's their league isn't even as good as the Championship. It's a lower level than the Championship in terms of quality. So he was doing it at League One level. He did it for, is it a year or 2? Was he there 2?
3 years. 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
But jumped straight into a job that was too big. A handful of managers in history go straight into a big to giant-sized club straight away or very early in their career and kill it. Most have to do multiple years of learning, but it isn't just those two. I feel like Paul Ince and John Barnes, so many other managers, when they took their first jobs, they just spring to mind as examples. Gary Neville as an example. They just jumped into jobs that were far too big for them before they were ready. I love what Rooney's doing. I'm desperate for Vincent Kompany and Michael Carrick to not leave Borough or Burnley for 2, 3, 4 more years. Learn your trade, make your mistakes outside of the limelight, and then come into it. Villa are not a bigger club than Rangers globally. I'm not suggesting that, but in terms of the eyes around the world and the media around the world watching Villa because it's in the Prem, is 100 times, 200 times bigger than watching Scottish football in 2023. It was a nonsense for him to come now. He just isn't ready. And we know, look, what Arteta is doing is abnormal. What Pep and Zidane did at Real Madrid and Barca is alien-like. Most managers can't do that. Fergie was managing like a pub team, I think, a pub team or a semi-pro team as his first club, and he built his way up in Scotland, did a madness with Aberdeen, and I think he was already a 10, 15, 20-year experienced manager before he went to Man United and tried to, most managers take a long time. Look at Jose's arc as a coach and a manager before taking on Chelsea. And he'd won, obviously, a Champions League. It's honestly crazy the way some of these guys behave. Crazy.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a question, actually, Gary, from you guys, especially the rival fans here. Who do you think would benefit more from a managerial change at this point of the season, Spurs or Chelsea? Or in other words, who do you think has the problem of which club is more of a manager problem rather than an overall system problem or a structure problem? Like, I would like to know that, because currently, as we having this conversation, it sounds a bit more like the problems are similar in both clubs, but there are some differences. So I'm trying to break that down.
I would say it's Spurs, just because Spurs could, in theory, still fight for something. Chelsea, legit, like after Tuesday, we're not like anyone who thinks we're going to beat Real Madrid by scoring 2 goals and conceding none unanswered and winning on penalties. God, that is. If you're going to put money on that, you might get 40 to 1 odds, because that's not happening. Yeah. In a penalty shootout, we've got to put the ball in the back of the net.
You won't even get Leicester odds for that, David.
God,
league,
no.
You know what I mean?
So you think
no? So it's Spurs, because if Spurs change their manager and in theory were to get it right for the next 7 games, they would finish in the top 4. If Chelsea get their manager appointment right and they win the next 7 games, they finish what, 8th, 7th?
I wouldn't say it's as simple as that for either club though, because we both have multiple problems as well as the manager. So I wouldn't say change the manager, everything's going to change. We have players getting change in the hallway with a little peg that says their name on it, right? Because there's so many players at the club. We've got packed out gyms, 35 players. How do you think you're going to gel on the pitch when there's so many things going on? You've basically got 3 squads that you can make out of what's going on right now. So I can't really answer that question because there's too many things going on. I can't say bring in this manager and everything's going to change. There's a lot more, and at Spurs as well. There's a lot more to be done other than the manager. It don't matter who you bring in unless you change how Levy manages the whole club.
Exactly.
I would have
said
under Roman, it's definitely Spurs. But under this new ownership group, I don't know. I don't know what you can call it. I really don't.
I think it's really hard to call because it's how they are. Just on some super chats here before the end. This here says, best solution for Spurs is to sign Ted Lasso as a coach because he knows the club already. I like that. Jess, do you feel we need to beat City? That's obviously coming from it. I'm not reading that in the first person. I'm reading their message.
Yeah, I always felt like I always felt like we needed to get a big result away from home. Well, after we lost to City at home, we needed a big result away from home, a win at one of the bigger clubs. We needed that. And I always felt like we needed to beat City once, which is exactly why when we did not beat Man City at home, I said that the title was done.
Okay, we can hear you there. Overpaying for players in 2 years, you will hear we don't have money to spend. Spectacularly naive clowns make Kroenke and the Glazers look like geniuses, is what no one says. Even before the winning goal, Brighton had 24 shots to 4. Sorry, we've already done that one. And this have a discussion says Spuds and 11th C are like the Thai hooker beautiful. Hot looking, but you'll see a banana hanging.
Oh my god!
Very well, at least we found out what you do on your holidays, my friend.
My God.
If you're
Oh
into
my
international,
God.
listen, you know, is that famous line from The Hangover too? That's why they
It's
call
a
it
bit racist.
Well, it does happen. That famous line from Hangover, is it? That's why they call it Bangkok Honey. Is that the famous line from The Hangover? Great film, great film. Listen, I
Number
want to
two.
say a big thank you to every single person who joined the show today, our panels, to all of my super chatters. Thank you to you as well. Please hit the like button before you go today and subscribe. And of course, go and download the Top 6 podcast available on Spotify right now. Link is in our description, or you can scan the QR code on our screen. We're live after City versus Leicester. Obviously, we're going to be discussing breaking Haaland as well. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon.